welcome to the 305 download. I'm your host, Diego Weiner, with my co-host, Alfredo Rubio. And today we're going to talk about indecision. Indecision.
What does that mean to you?
Well, here's kind of what it means to me. It means being so afraid of what's going to happen based on whatever you decide that you decide not to make a decision.
Right.
So, let's talk about investing. Everyone, we hear on Instagram every day, on Facebook, whatever it might be, hey, you should be investing because Social Security might not be around. And even if it is around, it ain't going to be enough to cover the sky high inflation rate, et cetera. So I think to me, that's what it means. It means holding off on making a decision to the point where you just made the decision, whether it was yay or nay,
right,
you probably would have been better off. And I think investment is a great way to start because, we're getting to that age, we're in our mid-30s. We're getting to the age where, it ain't, you're maybe 30 years away from retirement, 20 years away from retirement. And we're not pretending to be financial experts.
No.
But I think it's something that our generation, millennials in particular, have to keep in mind when they're deciding what to do.
I agree with you. I think indecision is, literally that, like the inability to make a decision, right? I agree with you on that. And I think investment's one of those ones that pop up. And I personally feel like investment is not just about financial investments that people make, but just an investment, even if it's in yourself or your future or whatever it is. And sometimes I feel, at least for me, what happens a lot with indecisions is so many options.
Yeah.
Which way do I go, where I end up choosing none of them because it's a lack of decision that I've had to kind of through age figure out, like, hey, just jump in one. And as they say, the grass is always going to be greener, but you need to stick to it. And then that's the one that's going to,
And I'll tell you, I think people, we have an overload of options compared to our parents, I think. It was they had the blueprint for success. I'm talking about like the baby boomers or the generation who came after, who basically, hey, go to college, get an education, or not, just go to work and, you'll have enough for the house, the family, et cetera. But, every time I open a new article on CNBC or whatever it might be, when I say article, I mean, to be fair. But it'll say, it'll give you percentages, like of how, what millennials are doing or how they're doing in comparison to other generations. And first, it's a great resource, I think, because it kind of gives CNBC Money gives kind of like a cool millennial version of let's say the Wall Street Journal, and you can see the percentages and how you stack up. But I think that's what it comes down to. I think it comes down to people being so afraid. You hear about investment, you hear about further education, and we're getting to the age where people will say something like, well, I'm 35, I can't go back to school now.
Right.
And it's like, but if you don't go back to school now, you're going to be in the same spot in 5 years, and then you're still going to be thinking about making that decision. And I think I love, I have a couple, I'm one of 4 bros, and I tend to love that I have 2 brothers that really just go out and go for it.
Right.
That really, really take chances financially, let's say business wise, and really go out and do what they're going to do. And sometimes it doesn't work, but I really respect someone that's willing to risk it, because at least then you can look at yourself and say, hey, I took a shot.
Right.
It didn't work out.
Yeah, I took a shot, and some of them work and some of them don't. Like the old saying, no risk, no reward. But something you mentioned was you saw your article, quote unquote, through social media, right?
The reels.
But do you think that that's hurting our generation a lot, in the sense of part of that could add to the indecision, where you're seeing people create either their real life of success or a facade, as we see on social media sometimes, of success. And so they're getting pulled in so many directions of, they want to be the ones traveling the world and driving the cool car. Who does it? And so they're trying to figure out, which avenue do I go down to get there? Or they see someone that did it this way that they follow on social media, like, that's the way I got to do it. Oh no, but this guy did it that way. And so it comes down to almost like, instead of an indecision, an over decision, if that's even a thing, where they just spread themselves out too thin and they don't know what the heck they're doing. No commitment.
I think it comes down to, and again, we're all guilty of it. I'm not excusing myself. You go online, you see, a 22-year-old guy or gal with, a Lamborghini, a house here, a house there. I think number one, it's important to keep in mind that I assume that's not reality. No one knows what the hell is going on. But to that point, it's like people might, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to take that extra step and go get that job that might pay a few more bucks an hour, or that career that I want to try out, they're like, well, shit, if I go down that lane, it's going to take me 20 years to get a good salary, rather than, hey, I'm going to be better off in 2 weeks than I currently am. Right. And I think it's almost like stay in your lane, but not from the perspective of what you expect from yourself, because hopefully we're all trying to better ourselves. Right. But maybe stay in your lane, meaning keep in mind that it's your life. You don't get another, you don't get a do-over. You don't, whatever your religious beliefs might be, you're here now. Yeah. And the indecision's killing you in the sense of a small decision, going to the gym one more time a week, eating a little better one meal a week, it all, I think, compounds, and if you don't do it, you're just going to end up in the same spot. We're having this conversation. I loved your example of, let's say, like the investment example where you talked about you bought stock for a company and people close to you were like, hey, you made a killing, sell it, you 3x your money. But I think, you be, and you'd correct me if I'm wrong, but, how did you make that decision? Meaning, it's something small, I know it wasn't life-changing, but still.
Not at all. I think for me, when I invest, I need to invest more, right? That's for sure. I don't invest anywhere near as much as I should, especially at our age. Mm-hmm. But for me, I tend to invest in companies that I like, that I see the future in, and, you kind of look at their history, look at what they're planning for the future, and I invest that way. I may miss out on opportunities because I don't go with the quote unquote viral investments of the time. Yeah. Like when SpaceX is killing people, like jump on SpaceX. And then it just, everybody's like gets, bored of it. I don't do it that way. I think tons of people have been successful doing that and following, the day trading. I'm not a day trader. So I like to invest in companies that I know, or I feel, because none of us know, will be in the long term. Right. And I make that decision and I stick to it. And there's friends of mine who make different ones and they invest and then they sell and they make a killing, life-changing, and then this and that. I don't regret that. I don't get any FOMO for it. I'm happy for them. I hope my friends do well. I hope they make investments that kill it or businesses that kill it. But I feel comfortable, and that's the big thing for me in anything in life, is any decision I make, whether it's personal, business, financial, I want to make sure that I'm happy with it and that I'm comfortable with it. And then I can wake up the next day going, no, I'm happy with that decision. If it didn't work out, it's on me. If it worked out, it's on me. And that's kind of like the way I like to give. I feel some people will make a decision based on peer pressure or investments or business or anything like that. And then when it doesn't work out, which hopefully it does, but if it doesn't, they blame the person that quote unquote peer pressured them into that. And listen, at the end of the day, maybe someone gave you advice, maybe they pushed you one way or the other, but you're the one who decided to move forward with that way. No one held a gun to your head and said, invest in this stock.
You ever seen the movie Point Break, where he goes once a year? Yeah. When someone goes like, hey, and I think it's the new one that I'm referring to, but the guy goes, it's the minute you go down that line, meaning that path, meaning that very dangerous thing in that particular movie, it's his line. Yeah. He accepted it. He adopted it. He went down it, and whatever happens, happens. Yep. But you know what? That's what I respect, because I think too many people just don't make the decision, right? I can't tell you how many friends I have that will open, for example, a brokerage account, just the account, will put cash in there and then just don't take the additional step of the investment part of, whatever they're going to take. And that's what kills them, right? Because if you were just to set that, whether you're buying an index fund or whatever it might be, on auto invest every month, and even if it's right now, if you can do $50, if you can do $100 a month, whatever it might be, it's like, well, who knows what $1 million will be, worth next day. Yeah, but that's $1 million more than you have if you do nothing. Exactly. So I think people have to make that decision. We could all be better at it, I think. But I tend to admire people that don't sit in indecision. Yeah. And I can't say that I always am, direct and make the best decision, but I think I try to live my life trying to be someone that makes, that completes actions, right? Even if you don't get to the end, at least you took that first step.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. I mean, I started my own firm last year, as you know, and it's going pretty good. It's fun. But man, I've made in a year, I've made some decisions where I've got, oh, that was a good one. That one worked out well. And dude, I've done some decisions where I'm going, holy, I can't believe I made that decision. It did not work out well. And it's okay. Because another part, I think, on this indecision of our generation specifically, I feel it's the one we know, right? They make a decision one time, it doesn't work out, and that's it. they're frozen. They never want to make another decision again because it didn't work out. And shit happens, dude. Like, shit happens. Some things are going to go right. Some things are going to go wrong. Just pivot and figure it out. But like you said, stay in your lane, right? The other thing people do is they'll start a business. A few years ago, people were big on social media marketing agencies. They still are, right? Like,
Yeah, I think I get about 15 emails a day or 15 DMs. Hey, I'll help you grow your following. Meanwhile, I have like 20,000 more followers than they do. It's like, yeah, my guy, no.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a big factor, right? Like, I get those all the time for either social media marketing agencies or video editing agencies, or I get them all the time for our social media because you and I are very active in posting daily. We're trying to grow our own personal brand. And I like to share, like, look, we give tips all the time to people. It's completely free. They follow us. We give them tips. It's not legal advice. Obviously, every situation is different, but it's like, hey, here are some tips for you. Best of luck to you.
Yeah.
If you need more questions, call us, honestly, all the time. But I feel like 10 years ago, I think it was, a buddy of mine kind of got into it a little bit, maybe a little longer than that, but probably a bit more than that. And it was like starting off, and it's changed so much to what it is today from what it was 10, 15 years ago. But 10, 15 years ago, it was like the new thing. So everybody got on it, right? And then I remember it kind of fizzling out. And now it's like coming back. And now it's like with AI, people are like, oh, these agencies, right? And they want to do that, and then do this and do that. And look, there's people that have done very successful with the agency business, but there's people who have done very successful with law firms. People who have done very successful with restaurants, with a storefront, with a photo. I have a friend of mine who's a photographer who has a tremendous life. And she has a studio and flies around doing photography. Great life, great time. But what I'm saying is we've named so many businesses, and people forget to stay in their lane. They want to start a business because it's something that they're passionate about and can make money. I think those two things have to go together. Sometimes your passions just don't have an avenue for money. So I think it's important to find something that, you're passionate about, because you're going to invest a lot of time in that, but also make sure that that passion has a financial structure, and then stay there. Because there's going to be times down that path where someone is doing a different business where you're like, man, it's a lot of money over there, and you're going to want to jump ship. But hey, guess what? To get to that point takes just as much hard work and time and investment as this does. So stay there, invest the time, and that's part of keep that decision going. You made it, stick to it, move down that path. That's what I feel a lot of people are doing, I think.
And let me ask you though, so to that point, right? We grew up hearing that, and it may be shit, it may not be shit. I don't know. That it was like, hey, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think that's the greatest myth I've ever heard in my life. Because I mean, listen, I love what I do, but we talk all the time. I'm coming home from the office at like midnight, 1 a.m. sometimes, and you're not always going to love what you do, right? So I guess in making decisions, we're getting to the stage in life where it's not just a decision for you, right? It's a decision for your family, for your, whatever you got to do. And I think maybe in our generation, I love it if you're a professional football player and that's what you love to do. Or if you're a photographer and you do that as a hobby and that's your business. But there's a certain level of responsibility. It's like, I'd be in college and I'd be in a classroom with someone who's and I'm not hating on art, but let's say an art major. And then I'd ask them like, well, what are you going to do with that? And, they'd say something like, oh, well, I'll be a curator of a museum. And for some of them, it worked out and good for them. And then you have the ones who got a degree in something, and then it's completely opposite to what they ended up doing, but they made the decision. They shifted their focus when they realized, hey, I'm going to have a salary. I'm going to have to pay for this. And I think I saw that like in Miami, the average rent is what, like on the low end, like $2,000 or $2,500. I mean, you got to pay for your living, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's my comment. It's, are we too lost in the, do what you love rather than get a return on your investment? And that way you have time to do what you want rather than the job that you love. Because not every job is a 24/7 job. So I feel like ours are.
Yeah.
But some people clock in and clock out.
I mean, in and out. I mean, to that question, what keeps you going on the days where you're like, I don't love this right now, right? Like I love what I do overall, but those days where you're in the office till last minute or you're planning on, because this happens all the time to us, where you're like, oh man, I'm going to go do this today and go to the pool or go to the park, but then you get a call and you got to go to the office or you got to go to the pool.
Meanwhile, you'll see the Instagram reels of like, I remember I saw one this morning. I'm not hating, I love it. Anyone that can get up at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning and, go to Pilates and then go to Whole Foods but they're like on their fourth let's say interesting activity of the day without any work being involved. Good for them. But to answer your question, I think, you make that decision, right? You make the decision, hey, I'm going to sacrifice my time, my freedom, because I want to have the financial ability to do X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And yeah, I happen to enjoy what I do, but no one, I'll tell you, I love being in court as a criminal defense lawyer. That's why I chose the job.
Yeah.
I think back when I was a student, I greatly underestimated how much time goes into the actual work that you do in the office.
Yeah.
All the motions, all the phone calls, prosecutors not returning phone calls, clients not being as responsive as you'd like, maybe being overly demanding. So I think there's always like a balance to be held, but at the same token, yes, I'm not saying go out there and do something you hate every day, but I think to a certain point, it's like, hey, what's my return on investment of this?
Right.
And, and will that allow me to provide my family the life they deserve or that I want to give them? Or, or hey, I'm going to do what I love no matter what the return is.
Yeah.
But make the decision, right? We're talking about decision or indecision, and everyone has different priorities in life.
I think so. I think one thing I've seen a lot of online that people say that I do agree with is sometimes, especially when you're younger and let's say you want to start a business doing whatever. I don't know. Let's just say photography studio, because it's one of the arts that some people love to travel and take pictures. And like, hey man, I would love
photographs. Come on,
photographs.
Pictures.
They want to take, these whatever type of photographs it is, whether it's for weddings, studio, travel, wildlife, the plethora of options that they have. You're like, man, I would love to do that. I think if that's your passion and you believe you have a skill for it or you're willing to learn it, then the decisions you make in life should lead you to that. What do I mean by that? Hey, maybe you need a part-time job at a McDonald's to get you enough cash to buy your first camera. Doesn't have to be a crazy camera. That's another thing, right? Like people want to start at the top. Hey, start somewhere. Get a little camera, learn the settings, learn how to work. YouTube University, as we always say, right? They'll teach you. Like people on YouTube have these how-to guides on setting up your camera and how to get the pictures and the Lightroom. Yeah. So get a job so that you can get a camera. Watch free videos on learning it, practice it, because that's the other thing, right? Everyone wants to learn everything, so they make the decision to watch YouTube for months and years and never actually do it. Yeah. And sometimes you just need to do it to find your own way. So learn the basics and go do it. And if your first few days suck, great. Keep going. Yeah. Dude, you've been doing social media, what, 4 or 5 years now?
Something like that. I think, but you know what? But to your point, right? We've been doing it for years, but really, I'd say probably a year we've been doing it seriously, like actually posting videos.
4 months.
Yeah. So to that point though, and you know what, I think, and sorry to interject, but I think social media, or our use of social media is an interesting point, right? We wanted to do a podcast. We don't know shit about podcasts other than watching them. Here we are. Well, I think this is episode 4 or 5, whatever.
Episode 8.
Oh, all right. Well, I think we beat 90% of them. Maybe we'll get like 30 followers or viewers. Let's start there. Yeah. But to your point, it's, hey, when we started doing it, dude, I look at my social media stuff from like before. Yeah. Number one, I was overweight. Don't look great. And number two, the videos have no, the structure of the videos are a disaster. Granted, before I started using like Claude and all those other tools that are now available. Yeah. But let's say just in the last year, you're talking about leaps and bounds. Yeah. Why? Because we didn't care if people were haters. I can't tell you how many times I've had a lawyer say to me, a lawyer I respect or something that says, oh, really? Does social media really do that much for you? And I say, I don't know yet. Yeah. It's starting to have like a compounding effect, and, people are referring me more cases, et cetera. But it's, there's always the haters.
Always.
So I think to the point about the indecision, I remember you and I would have these conversations and you would tell me like, hey, I would say, hey, do you think social media, it's cheesy, it's corny, I don't really like it, I think it dilutes the brand, et cetera. And your point to me was always, hey, fuck everybody else. Yeah. They don't pay your bills. They don't, you got to create your own personal brand. That was your advice to me. I've taken it and tried to run with it. And even in a few, I don't know, doing it seriously, I say a year, my God, it's really had an effect on my business. Yep. It's really had an effect on, let's say, the following that you get. Yep. And I think it's because, with, interactions with people that you respect and you are friends with, you know, you took that step, and we continue to take the step every day. You know,
We're still learning on it. I mean, you've been doing it for a year. I started doing it about 4 months ago. And what I mean by 4 months ago is we've had social media for over a decade, right? Yeah. But actually using it to create our brand, to help our business for that sort of a purpose. You've been doing it for maybe about a year. Seriously, I've been doing it for 4 months. I'm gonna be honest, a few days ago, I went to your social media. I was like, man, I wonder how long Diego's been doing videos for. And the first one I saw was back in 2021. Yeah. You still had the long hair. And dude, you didn't even have a microphone. So there was a whole, I'm going, we've come a long way.
Yeah, we've come a long way. I remember like, and it's funny, you know, because I had this thought, you know, it's almost like they don't look real professional. Maybe I should delete some of them. But between you and I, it's like, to me, for my personal, you know, watching, you know, and please don't make fun of you, see me overweight in those videos. But man, have we come a long way.
Yeah.
Man, even... I don't even think I used to use bubbles on the video. It literally just start talking.
No bubbles,
there's
no captions.
Yeah. I mean, not that I'm putting
microphone, no lavalier, no speaker. It was just like...
So to your point, thank you. Yeah. You've guided me a lot in the last year. But I do think that that's a great, let's say, point of, like, let's say you get to a point of decision making where you say, hey, I'm doing my job, but, you know, hopefully we're all always trying to better our situation. And for me, in law, it was, hey, I want to build my own personal brand independent of my law firm and try to take that next step to where hopefully, like, when people think criminal defense, they think Diego Weiner. I want that to be the thing.
Big time.
So, you know, when I made that decision, I remember I was embarrassed of some of the videos, but I was like, hey, I'm going to post them. And then you hit lulls where you're like, oh, it's not paying off. I'm not going to keep doing it. But I think the important part is understanding that we're all humans. You know, we're not perfect. Yep. You know, you're going to have shit in your life. I went through a ton of health shit in between.
Yep.
But the idea is get back to it as soon as you can. And if you believe in it, do it. Who gives a shit what everybody else says? But make the fucking decision.
Make the decision. And listen, you and I do social media different, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you love to just, hey, I'm going to sit in front of the camera. I got something to say, and you go with it. I have a little bit more post involved in mine, but I enjoy that process. Like, for me, that's fun. For some people, they think I'm psychotic. Like, why the hell would you enjoy doing that? Like, I don't know. I just do. I've always liked photography and videography and editing. It's been a fun hobby for me. I've never wanted to make it a business. I've always just wanted to have fun with it. And so with the social media game, I'm able to give you like tips and things.
Great stuff. Because otherwise I'd be doing the same shit I was doing before.
And dude, I just find it fun. Like, generally, I just find it fun to do these things. And some people are like, oh, you know, they work so hard to do certain things. That's a task for them. And so here's a video I saw today on someone who talks about creating your own brand. And I thought, oh man, that makes perfect sense. It's okay when you're starting off to go online, find people that you admire, find people in the niche that you've decided to create a personal brand in, and maybe kind of follow some of the designs that they do, but within your own comfort zone for now. So for example, if someone that you admire, love to follow, love their content, and want to create a similar content, maybe in the same niche, maybe in your own niche, but a similar vibe, but you can't stand to be in front of the camera for 30 minutes or even 5 minutes, and all that person does is long form, don't start there. Start with a 30-second video, start with a minute video, and work your way up. Otherwise, to your point, what you were saying, you're just going to say F it after a couple of months because you're just not comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were saying, like, look, find a niche that you like, that you're good at, that you understand, that either you're an expert in or you're a student in, whichever one, and people will relate to that. So deleting the old videos, no, don't delete them, because people can go on your Instagram and watch them and go, man, this guy started terribly, but look what he's doing now. So people relate to that. Like, hey, we don't start off perfect. We don't start off polished. And I don't want you to think that I ever did that. I'm like human. I'm not a robot. I'm not some fake thing. Like, I want you to see that, hey, some of my videos suck ass. Yeah. And even till this day, man, I'll post a video and I go, that did terrible. Oh, well, next. I don't delete them. I don't remove them. I don't want to make it seem like my social media is perfect. No, some videos suck. Yeah. And I want to know, like, why did I post that? Oh, well, it's already there. Leave it.
And even from like a performance perspective, I like that comment, because like not every video is going to do great, you know? I mean, we've had videos that do, I say we because they have a lot of your involvement in it, that do, you know, anywhere from 500 views to literally 2.6 million views.
Yeah.
So I think to your point, you have to leave it on there. I think it's important. I think you got to do what you're, and I don't want to say what you're comfortable with, right? Because the whole idea, I think, is no one's if they were comfortable, they would make the decision,
Of course.
right? The whole reason, I think, with the indecision, what I think plagues our generation is like fear of making the wrong choice,
Right.
or because they're uncomfortable about that choice. But I'm gonna use an example of you, and I hope you find it appropriate. But I'll tell you, I remember you and I have kind of different personality types, right? And I don't mind having, like people walking around and don't make that bad. It's like, it's gotten to the point where I've done enough of these stupid 30-second videos where, whatever, let them walk by. It's all good. Now, granted, it takes me about 30 tries to get a video, whatever. But I like, to your point, that like, listen, when you and I had a conversation about doing the social media stuff more often, you made a comment to me and I said, hey, well, I'll just do a video for you right now. And you said, listen, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Let's get some practice. And I've seen you grow exponentially. You like your editing, your videos, all that stuff. So I think, you could, like we have different personality types, just like a million different people do. But I think it's important that you take that baby step. You put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And even if you have to build up to it, and it's not always, whether it's, open that brokerage account and don't invest in it for the first month, invest in it later, or take that trip, or make that career change. Or maybe you don't make a career change. Maybe you take an online class on, of something that you're interested in. So I don't know, man. I think that at least is my message to, like, I love this conversation. I kind of love this because so many of us, hold off on making a decision, whether it's work, business, family, travel, hobbies, whatever it is, just because we're afraid of what might happen if we choose the wrong thing.
Or what some people might say. I mean, I remember in the past, you used to say like, hey, I always hated seeing the negative comments toward my
that's hilarious. That's great.
You would always say like, oh man, sometimes I delete the negative comments, or no, I'm like when they say that, or this and that. And I literally said, fuck it, who cares? Because there's always going to be someone that has something negative to say. Sometimes it's someone you don't know who the hell they are, and sometimes it's someone you see all the time. They always want to make a little jab or a little comment. Right on that. And you do a great job of that.
I think I've responded to every comment.
Like I'll be honest, I need to respond more to my comments, and I have sometimes, some days I get busy and I don't, and I kind of get mad at myself. Because when people comment, whether it's positive, negative, whatever it is, they took the time to write a comment on my video. So I want to respond to that. Like, show like, hey, I'm paying attention. I'm listening to you guys. And I do a poor job of that. You do it great. And I laugh, man, because sometimes you're like, hey man, thanks for the help. I appreciate it. Or if it's a negative comment, appreciate the wonderful positive feedback. See you guys around for the next video, whatever. Like, oh my God, you gave me such great ideas, and they give you nothing. Like, it'll just be like trash. Like, wow, tremendous. Like, and just messing with them, and they get upset. And they're like, what do you mean tremendous? And then I'm just kind of like, respond with a trash can. It's like, then I just to them.
Rage bait. Always rage bait.
It's just part of the fun, right? And I think that's a step that people have to learn to get to, and that's part of the process. And dude, some people, maybe you're gonna hop on a camera today for the first time, crank it out, not give a shit, look at the comments, but yo, fuck you, and just not care. Other people can't even fathom being in front of a camera. But whatever it is, make that decision. If you've got to sit in front of someone and just record in the camera and just talk to the person while that records you, do that. If, like you said, you want to open up a brokerage and put nothing in it, and then in a month you put $50 in it, just to put in $50. And you're like, hey, I want to buy these stocks, but they're 300. I'm going to put $50 every few weeks until I can buy enough stocks, and then I'll just buy them all at once. Fine. Whether that's a good investment idea or not, I don't freaking know. I'm not a financial guy. But if that's what you feel is good for you, then do it. But make that decision, run for it. Stop letting I think most of the indecision people have is fear of messing up, or fear of what someone else might say. So it's giving a lot of power to people who either don't matter or aren't going to pay your bills or aren't going to take care of your future, or for whatever reason you have. It's like, who gives a shit?
I agree 100%. Beautiful ending message.